Ladies and gentlemen, let's open a door to a dark and dangerous hypothetical. What if Adolf Hitler had not died in 1945? What if, hidden away or kept alive by his inner circle, he had lived another 10 years, his body aged, but his ideology untouched? What kind of Germany would have emerged if the Führer himself remained at the helm for a decade more? Today, we're diving deep, not into fantasy, but into plausible, grim reality. This is not glorification. This is a warning, a projection of what could have been had history taken a darker path. In this alternate 1945, the Third Reich has not yet collapsed. The Allies pause, divided by mistrust. The Cold War lines begin forming before Berlin falls. With luck and loyalty, Hitler survives, possibly retreating to the Bavarian Alps, surrounded by his most fanatic protectors. From there, he begins reshaping Germany, not for peace, but for endurance. The first objective? Survival. The German war economy, shattered by years of bombing, is reforged into a fortress economy. Hitler, obsessed with total war, mandates a national regeneration plan. Armament factories are relocated underground. Slave labor, already used throughout the war, is expanded, now including political prisoners, women, and children. The Reich doesn't rebuild, it hardens. Rationing becomes permanent. The black market thrives, but inside propaganda walls, Hitler spins the suffering as a badge of honor. He blames Anglo-American imperialists and Bolshevik traitors for Germany's pain, never himself. Technologically, desperation accelerates innovation. Under the supervision of figures like Albert Speer and SS scientists, the Third Reich fast-tracks its missile program. The V-2 becomes the foundation of a terrifying ambition: long-range ballistic capabilities. There is no moon race. There's a race to reach New York with a warhead. Jet propulsion, stealth technologies, and early nuclear theories are tested, not in open labs, but in brutal underground facilities. Human lives are expendable. Data is everything. By 1950, Germany, under Hitler's iron will, becomes a grimly advanced military power. Wounded, isolated, but dangerous. Socially, Hitler's continued rule would be marked by absolute control, intensified purges, and cultural fossilization. The Holocaust, in this reality, is not exposed, but expanded. With the war front reduced to stalemates or cold ceasefires, SS operations shift fully inward. New death camps arise in eastern territories. Resistance becomes near impossible. Hitler's vision of a racially pure empire pushes forward without apology. Slavic populations are forcibly deported or enslaved. Jews, Roma, and political dissidents vanish entirely from public record, erased as if they never existed. The goal is not just extermination, but rewriting history itself. Culturally, the Germany of these 10 years is trapped in ideological amber. Art becomes propaganda. Music serves the Reich. Architecture grows colder, more imposing. Berlin transforms into the nightmare of Germania. Massive, gray, brutalist. The arts no longer express, they obey. Education is weaponized. Children are not taught critical thinking. They are trained for loyalty. The Hitler Youth becomes mandatory and lifelong. Indoctrination begins at birth, ending only in death or defiance. As the Cold War ignites between the US and USSR, a Hitler-led Germany carves out a third position, a pariah state, armed and hostile, but too strong to ignore. Diplomatically, Germany becomes the North Korea of Europe, isolated, watched, feared. But unlike North Korea, it is not impoverished. It is industrial, capable, and still rich in stolen gold and plundered assets. Some nations, particularly those sympathetic to fascist ideologies or fearful of Soviet power, maintain secret contact. Argentina, Spain, some Middle Eastern regimes. Deals are made in the shadows, intelligence for resources, weapons for influence. Hitler himself retreats from public view, his speeches rare but thunderous. In one broadcast, he calls the world decadent, divided, and doomed. He presents the Reich as the only order standing between chaos and communism. Europe trembles, torn between NATO and the Warsaw Pact, while Hitler's Reich looms in the shadows, armed to the teeth, waiting. Domestically, infrastructure is rebuilt, but not for public welfare. The aim is military utility and authoritarian control. The autobahns expand not for commuters, but for troop transport. Rail networks favor east-west supply lines and forced labor relocation. Concrete bunkers dot the landscape like steel tumors. Cities are rebuilt in Hitler's vision: monumental, impersonal, efficient. Public housing is minimal. Instead, families are incentivized to live in strict communal units, governed by local party chapters. Energy policy shifts toward synthetic fuel production, as Hitler remains obsessed with autarky. Coal reigns. Hydroelectric dams rise, but only to serve military bases and war factories. In education, science is purged of Jewish influences. Evolution is replaced by racial biology. Philosophy is censored. Students are ranked not by intelligence, but loyalty. Universities lose their autonomy and become factories of ideology. By 1955, an entire generation has grown up under a regime that never ended. They know no other reality. So, what kind of Germany would have emerged if Hitler had lived 10 more years? Not a land of prosperity, but of paranoia. Not a rebirth, but a brutal extension of madness. A Germany more advanced militarily, perhaps, but morally hollow, culturally dead, internationally feared and reviled. This is not fiction for entertainment. This is a mirror to the path we barely avoided. In remembering what could have been, we sharpen our awareness of the choices that shape what is. Thank you.